right? Like it wasn't a lot of people that, came out of an environment in which we both, grew up in. So from there, it's just recognizing, right, that certain people have a niche. Certain people have a niche. Certain people have a role that they can help, your own development. And I looked at Dorian as being someone who I could, finally trust through and through. And through that NFL like sort of agency process, I really leaned on him.
What up, though, Black Fridays family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Now, this is a super, extremely special episode. We got a lot of energy in the building and in the city of Detroit. It's officially NFL draft week, and I had to bring some special guests on here today because I haven't seen this type of energy in the city since a few months ago, since one of our guests helped beat the brakes off of the Rams and then also the Bucks to get us to the NFC North, the NFC championship game this year. So I would like to introduce none other Mr. Charles Harris and then also Dorian Giles. How y'all brothers doing today?
Doing good, man.
Excellent. Glad to be here.
Good. Appreciate y'all being on the show today. And so just to give a little bit of a background about the both of you, and then also want to get into the relationship and kind of how this started. So Charles plays defensive end here in Detroit for the Detroit Lions, best team in football. And then you will see that they're going to feel it. They're going to feel y'all next year for sure. Mm-hmm. And then Dorian is also a pro athlete manager, has pro athlete management company. And this journey between the two of you all and working together in a relationship started back in high school, correct?
Correct.
And so you all this started like on the basketball court. This had nothing to do with football initially. So could you talk a little bit about that and growing up in Missouri? Are both of you from Kansas City?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Talk a little bit about Kansas City and how this relationship started and how we got to this point.
No, you got it.
Oh, I mean, man, growing up in Kansas City, it's a special place, man. It's really family oriented. It's a bunch of great people there. We actually met at Lincoln College Preparatory Academy, which is the high school we went to.
You got to say all of it.
You got to say it. You got to say it. I mean, it's kind of like an HBCU for high school.
Okay.
It's like really close knit. We got a lot of pride about it.
Yep.
But yeah, like we met on the basketball court. I was a junior. He was a freshman. He was a lot skinnier than he is now and stuff like that. And so, he was just, motivated young dude. I had been in Lincoln for total of 6 years at that time, middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. And yeah, man, we met on the basketball court, and he was a great player. When I left, he actually emerged to become the best player in the city. I'll let him expound upon that. Mm-hmm. But then we actually went to Mizzou together as well. I was in the same situation. I was a junior, he was a freshman, and then we got even closer there. So that's kind of how it started.
That's tough.
And I mean, in addition, my first memory of Dorian being at Lincoln was he was always a fashion guy, like always a guy. Like I'm talking about all the middle school, high school trends, not middle school, but high school trends. Remember we went from the polo, the people went to H&M, the people went to PacSun, like that whole little phase of like clothing and whatnot. Like he was like the head honcho at all that. Like when you start wearing the polos with the cargo denim, like you know what I'm saying? Like we start changing all that style, all that, He was a guy that started all the camouflage pants, shoes. So that was my first, something that he did something that he really embodied was really fashion. So that was something that really stuck out about him. And then from there, he's always been a people person. On the basketball court, always one of the hardest working individuals on the basketball court. We used to have this game called the Big Three, or three man in the middle. Like I forgot which one. It was the Big Three or like Big Three.
You talking about the rebounder?
The rebounder drill. So basically we had this thing where you had to get three guys and you had to get three rebounds, right? You had to get a rebound, you had to put it up, but you had the other two guys trying to stop you because they're trying to get the drill too. And you're going for until you get this thing done, you're going nonstop. It's at the end of practice too. Yeah. So you're already dog tired. And he was always the guy jumping up. We had this big guy on the team named Carlos.
Yeah.
Carlos. Carlos. Like when you say, Carlos coming, Carlos is coming. Like he's the guy you call when you got that little problem on your street and you're like, yo, my might be your brother. He's
Carlos on the way.
You go to Carlos.
Carlos was built like an NFL D tackle at like 14.
Yes. And he never changed. Like always been the same. So yeah, I remember he used to hop on those drills without no sort of hesitation. He's always the guy to go up there and get the rebound. So he showed characteristics of himself.
Yeah. It was a drill where you had to bang.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was like, Charles was a little bigger, and then Carlos was obviously huge. I used to like to bang like that. So
Yeah. So he showed that fiery spirit, at a
Back then.
back in the day, and still got it to
that was
this day.
fun.
That's dope.
Yep.
So as far as so you all had the opportunity to build a relationship in high school, and then you fast forward a few years. So you were getting ready to enter into the draft or finishing your college football career. Dorian, you had already left the university, and as far as being a student, how did you all form your working relationship, and then how does that dynamic work for you all today?
Yeah. So I mean, I could take this one, or you can add it, obviously. I believe when I was coming out of Kansas City in general, coming out of sort of my family background as well, I feel like I was very green when it came to NFL. Like didn't really understand it. Didn't come from a family of like, we're gonna raise you as a sports star. We know everything. It's kind of like laid out for you. And that's just family and also city wise, right? Like it wasn't a lot of people that came out of an environment in which we both grew up in. So from there, it's just recognizing, right, that certain people have a niche. Certain people have a niche. Certain people have a role that they can help, your own development. And I looked at Dorian as being someone who I could, finally trust through and through. And through that NFL, like sort of agency process, I really leaned on him. Leaned on my father in regards to perspectives that I really need to help make my decision, because that's the one thing I did know, right? Like, because your agent is very important when it comes to NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there through and through, and other Kansas City local legends as well. Alfonso Hodge, like he was someone else we leaned on heavily in regards to like, okay, what decision do we make? What agency do we go to? What do we need to know? Like, where do we train? How do we train? Sort of like that pre-draft process. So that's kind of the start of our, me recognizing sort of a need, and also Dorian recognizing the opportunity in which he can provide his services and his skills and his background. And I think it just matter of, getting those in combination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to even add to that, I mean, I remember specifically it was New Year's 2015 when he gave me a call. I think I forgot, maybe it was your red shirt sophomore.
Yeah, red shirt sophomore. Yeah.
He had a breakout season,
Yeah.
and I think you got a second round draft grade.
Yep.
Yeah, so he started getting NFL buzz and stuff like that. So he gave me a call. We was both at home. Like I know for a fact I was working on my goals for the new year. Were you doing the same thing?
I was posting up articles of people that talk stuff, but that's a goal too.
So I was working on mine because I had this thing where I like do my New Year's goals and stuff like that. So I was working on my 2015, and he gave me that call and was just telling me sometimes God puts people in your life to basically help you in the next steps and so on and so forth. And so that's just kind of where the conversation started, and then I went on to move to LA, but then got that call again to come back and just kind of help him with the agent selection process, and so that's just where it was. And I knew he was an athlete that I believed in, and a person that I believed in. I knew he worked hard. I got to see a lot of Division I high major not pro athletes, but athletes, at Mizzou, basketball and football. His work ethic was different. So I felt like, talent is a conversation. Some guys have, LeBron level talent. Some guys have different level talent. But it's like, one thing I knew about being a pro is work ethic matters. And I knew he had a unique ability to go in there and earn it every day. And so I felt confident in aligning myself with him and seeing where this journey could take us.
That's fire. And obviously it's worked out thus far. And I'm really grateful to kind of see how you all were able to form that friendship, but more importantly, like the trust on the business end. Right. Because, sometimes people tell you, don't work with friends, or, however, if you have any type of closeness, then it could get messy and things like that. But just for you to be able to have that trust in each other and be like, we're going to go on this ride together. Like, I think that's huge, and that speaks volumes as well.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, to each his own, right? Like, every situation is different. I can speak on, like, there was a difference of opinion, between us early on in working with each other. I was always sort of I got to grind, I got to work, I got to stay, I got to clock these hours in, right? I got to stay on this field for an amount of time. I got to stay in the weight room for a certain amount of time. And then you got to produce, right? In order for you to become, to build up this brand recognition and like partnerships and all that kind of stuff. Whereas he was more of a visionary, right? I've always told him this, he already knows that he's truly a visionary. Like, he's the guy you bring into the team where you're like, hey, this is where we at. We need to know where we want to go and how we're going to get there. And you bring him in, you bring him to the drawing board. And this is before social media became like, really, really popular, and to the masses, at least to be able to create capital off of it, right? Monetary gain. So Yeah, it's one of them things where like early on in my career, I say like after my second, third year, he was like, "Yo, we need to get into like this marketing and like we need to get into like this networking and all this kind of stuff." I'm kind of like, "Bro, I'm not even on the field right now. Like I need to go back on the field. I need to collect. I know I gotta stay focused. I got locked in. So it was this mantra in which I was sort of still, I'm not gonna say stuck in my old ways, but like I'm sticking to my beliefs, right? Like this is how I got here, and I need to do the same thing. And yeah, you can do the same thing, but there's also ways in which you can expand to other avenues, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where he kind of brought that vision to me. And once I started understanding that more so, it became more, more cohesion between us.
That's dope. And I obviously have more questions and follow-up questions, but now I'm going to introduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is called Freestyle Fridays. Now, I'm gonna give you actually an out to this because we can do the rapid fire, or I don't know, y'all might like to rap, do some poems, do poetry. We can do that as well. I just have to offer the option.
I mean, I'm good. What's the rapid fire? Like, what you mean?
All right, you got to pick one. You got to pick.
Rap. Yeah, we can rap.
I mean, I'm good with the rapid fire.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, we're gonna do the rapid fire. So, first question is: both of you have been able to spend some time a significant amount of time in the city thus far. What's your favorite thing about Detroit?
Black people.
My man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. My favorite. I love food. I love Detroit food. Like I done lived for an extended amount of time. I lived in Kansas City, Miami, Atlanta, and not to shame none of them. They all got their own particular interests, but Detroit food is fire.
That's what's up.
It's really fire.
Y'all heard it. Detroit food is A1. Yeah. So pull up.
No doubt.
If y'all got to lace them up right now, 1v1 playing basketball, who winning?
Me.
We just talked about how we in cohesion now. Like we unison. Come on, bro. Come on.
Now, obviously, an NFL player, if he backing me down and stuff, take the easy way out.
Yeah.
But if we really hooping, me.
What do you mean? It's one-on-one. I can do whatever I want to do. It's war at that point.
If we're talking about real skill.
Real what?
Skill.
He asked who would win a game.
Let's say we're going to 11, 3 dribbles.
I'm winning. Yes.
I'm choosing myself every time.
For sure.
I wouldn't expect nothing less. I wouldn't expect nothing less.
Yeah. Difference of opinion.
Yeah, we're gonna put that on camera though. We're gonna record a game and put that out there.
Put it in the news, can't star. Right. Non-athletic sports.
Fox News, hey.
NFL, yeah, we can do that.
Metro News Detroit. Check this out.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kansas City, what's one thing that you would like for people to know about KC that don't know any or haven't visited yet?
Talent. I mean, it's so much talent there. I think that what we're trying to do is connect resources to the talent. You know what I mean? I think you guys are doing an amazing job here in Detroit. I've invested in Detroit and I love it. People have invested in me. I think that I'm learning a lot of things that I can take back to my hometown and just be able to learn and apply to our city. But talent, man, it's full of it.
Fire.
Yeah, likewise. And I mean, I personally got to Detroit. I remember I told Dorian, like, man, this reminds me of home. Like, it really does. Reminds me of Kansas City. A lot of history, a lot of good culture, good food, but really the most important thing is good people. Real good people. Don't get me wrong. It's always a few bad apples, right? Like, It's just the way, that's how anything is. But it's really good, hardworking people, who really want to help the community, who want to actually succeed. So having that narrative in a city is always special.
Absolutely. So y'all got one chance. You got one opportunity. I pass y'all the aux cord. You got to turn the party up. What song you going to?
Right now, like that, my future.
Okay, my question
is,
Drake
is up.
You pass me the cord. The first thing I do is look around me. I gotta say who's in the room.
Check the vibe.
So what kind of crowd are we talking?
Let's say it's we are, like you mentioned, black people. So we're around the culture. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back in the day. I'm gonna go Dirty Sprite.
What you know about DS2?
What you mean? That right there, that time frame was when
iconic.
Yes, it was just nothing else. There was no other music out there.
Yeah, I wasn't even on Future like that before then, but then that made me a Future fan, like literally.
Some people always been on Future. Yeah, all right.
You're right, sure. Yep. And last but not least, if you had to tell us actually, I'm gonna go with this one. If your phone can only do one of these functions and no other functions, would you rather it only be able to do phone calls, video call, or text message?
I would say video call.
I would say the same.
I mean, you get both in one, right? Like you get to see him and you get to talk to him at the same time.
So FaceTime era, you know.
Yeah, fact.
Sure.
Fun story about that. So I downloaded the Jetsons. All right. And the reason why I downloaded Jetsons because I'm like, I wonder how many inventions we have now that they didn't. You know, I used to watch on TV, right? So I downloaded Jetsons. I got 2 little girls. So we start watching Jetsons. So they just watching it for fun. I'm watching it. I told my wife, I said, come here. I was like, what they on right now? What is he using to get from point A to point B in his house? And she's like, oh, he just sliding. Oh, wait, he using one of them things at the airport. I said, yes, he using the conveyor belt to get to one room to other. I said, that's so crazy how it's just conveniently in our airport. And I was like, you know, our parents probably watched this like 30 years ago. I was like, you know, that'll never be possible. But it's like, yo, it's everyday life. Every time you go to the airport, you see it. And then they had FaceTime too.
Yep.
They had FaceTime.
The cleaning robot?
You said what?
The cleaning robot? Like how we got the Roomba now? That was Rosie?
Yes, bro. TV here with it, bro. Yeah. So the Jetsons blew my mind. I'm like, I'm watching Jetson now to see what idea I can steal. You know, I'm trying to see what I can create now. You know, because it's coming true. Like
them
it's
and the
coming
Simpsons.
True. Yeah, the Simpsons too.
Yeah, they didn't figure something out.
Yeah, you know, I remember they talked about that and it was like, why is the Simpsons like so right? And it was like, well, I think it was like somebody that worked for the Simpsons, whatever, like did production. It was like, well, when you have so many episodes and you have so many random events, it's just bound to happen. It's a number system, right? Probability calls where it's going to happen at some point. So that's just a fun thing about that.
For sure. Well, congrats to y'all. Y'all successfully passed Freestyle Fridays. So appreciate you engaging in the randomness. And if I can go into asking a little bit about the business of football and kind of how those things function. So we got the draft here in the city. And like I said, when I introduced the show, I'm super excited. I'm super pumped. And we haven't had energy like this in the building or in the city since, like I said, of course, that playoff run that we just went on. And then also the Super Bowl that we had back in 2000, I want to say 6. Yeah. So it's a ton of energy going on. And then today, like, people participating in summits and different things surrounding tech and sports and the intersectionality of all of that. So I wanted to first ask you all, going through that draft process, as that's what kind of kicked off you all's business relationship, what does that look like for a manager, for a player, in terms of making sure you package and position yourself? Because obviously you produce on the field, your work is your work. But then in addition to, you got to do interviews, you got to do so many other things that's not necessarily on the field or in the gym. So could you talk a little bit about, like, what does that process look like for you all and how do you navigate it?
I mean, I think for a manager, you specifically talking about the new managers that are coming in with the new draftees and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd be a great position to take.
I mean, I think that for a manager, it's all about organization and communication, right? You want to be understanding of the type of things and the type of interviews that the athlete will want to take and the type of extracurricular opportunities that the athlete will want to be a part of. You want to make sure it's organized. You want to make sure you over communicate. It's often going to be times where as a manager, you're going to feel like, man, this dude's maybe he's not responding. Maybe, maybe blowing him up, maybe doing all this and that. But you would rather over communicate and make sure he has all the information that he needs instead of under communicating and possibly miss out on opportunity. You know what I mean? And you think that he doesn't want to do it or maybe you're hitting him up too much, but then, he hears, after the fact that he could have did this and that, you would rather him know that he could have did it and then declined it instead of just not telling him. So you just want to make sure you over communicate and be organized.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, I mean, for these guys coming up right now through this draft, I think the first thing I almost look at this question as being like, what do I want to impart, to them, like point of wisdom. And I think for me is enjoy the moment. You know what I mean? Like really be in the moment. You work so hard to get to this point, and know too that everything you receive is for what you've done and not for what you're doing. So that kind of puts you in the mindset that, okay, I got this baton, right? Because I ran the race behind me. And now that I have the baton now, a new baton, I got to keep running and I got to run faster, And, it's just one of them things to where, a second part of that is understanding that the team in which you go to, right, for draft selection is very important to get connected, like immediately, And don't get me wrong, you have a busy schedule, you have OTAs, you got, you jumping in there with guys right after, the vet's already been for 2-3 weeks, you know what I mean? So it's one of the things where you got to get caught up to speed, you got the playbook now, you got coaches on your back analyzing you, like, you got the GM down there looking at who they just paid, they just like, owner out there with you, like, you worth this X amount of dollars I just gave you, so it's a whole lot of different pressures and whatnot, but just remembering that, man, it's just a game. It's just a game. It's a kid's game. Like, that's all it is. I remember when after I got drafted, I got so and Dorian remember when I actually was pre-draft. I started putting my cleats by the door, like my father, right? And looked at it as, man, this is my job now, but yeah, it is. It pays the bills, but it's really a game. And more than likely, the people who are most successful with what they do are the ones who just treat it like it's a game, because that's what love is, right? Like, when you see a child and, the daddy, right? That kind of love is so special. It's different from, I am a parent, I have to be a parent, or I am a husband and wife, and I have to be a husband and wife, versus it being like purely out of love. So, yeah, I mean, these guys get connected to the city that they get drafted to. Get connected as soon as you possibly can to the right people, to good people, and like I said, like, be multifaceted, because you're already multi-talented. You didn't get to your position just by being a football player. You got to your position by being an athlete. That's the thing I think a lot of parents forget. It's like, some of these parents be like, oh, my son is this, or they really talented at that. It's okay, but can they do this and that? That's the real question, because that's the one going to win. If you're bigger, faster, stronger than your opponent, you're probably going to win 9 times out of 10. So, yeah, I have a lot to bestow, in regards to like this weekend and this, day for these gentlemen coming up. But yeah, it's a great weekend. Just be in the moment, get connected to good people, and just realize that, yo, this is just a game. Like, it's all a game. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point for like both, the manager and the player. Just have fun with it. You know what I mean? I think that from the perspective of a manager, you have a unique opportunity to be creative. You get to learn this person, and you get to basically, it's like you take a pencil and you got a blank canvas. You understand this player's preferences, but you're kind of like the person kind of putting the pieces together. And so it's like, continue to invest in that relationship. Now you got your guy here. Don't let up off of it. Like, when you're recruiting and building a relationship to get there with the guy, you were motivated, you were building a relationship and stuff, you were having fun with the guy. Continue that, because I think that both parties, if you continue to invest in a relationship, I think that you'll be able to do business better with each other. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, if you think about it, if you go to the doctor and you have a better relationship with the doctor knows your body inside and out, things like that. They can prescribe you the right medicines more effectively, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. So it's just like, same thing with a business manager. You always want to continue to invest in your guy, have fun with your guy. Everything don't have to be about business. If it is about business a lot, that's okay too. I think sometimes we think like, we have to put labels on relationships. It has to be this or that. Whatever works for y'all works for y'all. Just continue to balance that and prioritize that. And I think that, both parties will be good. And also, the athlete should invest in the manager as well. So it's like, it's twofold. I think any relationship that's mutually beneficial is always going to be the best.
For sure. And it's very timely that you say that, because I started listening to Rich Paul's book, Lucky Me. And like, he talks about that, like, literally, I think the last chapter I heard, he's like, just I treat my clients like people. And because that's how, because he got a lot of lessons from his dad, and his dad, no matter who had a like a convenience store in the neighborhood, no matter who came through that door, he treated him like a person. And so that's kind of like the base of where he got his how he builds relationships with people. And I think that's super dope to be able to see people for who they are and not what it is that they do, and kind of like what they bring to the table. And a quick follow-up question to that, for those who may be confused or don't necessarily know kind of how things work in this space, could you talk about the differences between what an agent does and what a manager does, and can they be the same thing sometimes?
So it's easier to say. So an agent is somebody who has a license with the union, the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association, or the NFLPA, the National Football Players Association. And so you're licensed with them and you're governed by them. You have this set of rules you have to abide by and everything like that, just like any other, union. And so you are the one that is communicating with the team and negotiating the player's contract. So you're basically an advocate for the player with the team, and you're the one that helps them, get paid. You evaluate their value in the market, and then you say, hey, like, my player is this valuable. He's compared to this player that took up this percentage of the cap. Last year the cap went up this percentage, so my player, he's producing at a similar rate, so he should take up the same percentage. But the cap is here now, so you could get paid this much. So that's kind of like the job of an agent, whereas the job of a manager is kind of like, it could be anything. So it could be kind of like a glorified assistant, or it could be somebody doing philanthropy. It could be somebody getting endorsement deals, sponsorships. just kind of the whole nine. And yes, it can be both. So you take Rich Kleiman, for instance. He's KD's agent and manager.
Okay.
So they started 35 Ventures together.
Yep. Boardroom?
Yeah, they started Boardroom together. You know, so Rich is kind of like, you know, somebody I feel like is a blueprint for me. Because, you know, I like to be able to negotiate contracts one day as well as handle pretty much everything. And kind of, I feel like him and KD are more so business partners. So whenever you kind of operate in that space of agent and manager, I think you become more of a business partner to the player. You know what I'm saying? Because it's more of a holistic approach. So I hope that answered it.
No, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And I want to ask Charles if you could talk about like the importance of building a team and curating a team, because obviously you play a team sport, but then in terms of life, like we talked about, you know, how you have a family. Obviously you and Dorian have a business relationship. You probably, you know, interact and work with other people in different spaces, but just kind of like curating that team to be able to help you be successful. Because sometimes, you know, as a professional athlete, the one person can get the credit and the focus and the attention, but you know, it takes a village in order to make things shake. So I want to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, no, I think every athlete comes from a different situation. You know, very unique situation is individualized to them. So I would say if you understand your weaknesses better than your strengths, you may be better off. You know, so like let's say, okay, well, you know, my parents do finances. You know, so my parents don't have my finances. You know, so however, I have zero style and ability, right? Like I don't know how to put no clothes together. I don't know how to like what shoes go, what shirt. Like I'd have zero credibility when it comes to fashion. Well, that's your weakness. So maybe you should focus on that more so and find someone who can help you with that versus the finances, right? So I believe every athlete has different loopholes and different potholes in which they need to fill. Like for example, you know, here recently, insurance has been one for me, right? Like so, like help, and that's what we'll talk about tomorrow as well, like part of like generational wealth. So insuring myself, right? Insuring myself, insuring my family, making sure like, okay, it's not that this is a investment vehicle. However, this is a protection vehicle just in case anything happens, right? Like, however, there is some investment credibility or equity I can gain in this at the same time. So just understand insurance, right? So I had to get someone who's an insurance guy to sort of do all my insurance. And if you need someone, just let me know. You know, but no, I just one of them things, right, where this team that you need, right? So obviously you got the bases, right? You got the agent, you got the manager. If you depend on your status, you probably need someone on a PR level. You know, you probably need someone who's head over. The PR person can probably do a dualistic role, right? So they also providing your foundation on 501(c), whatever it is you have going on personally. They can probably serve on that as well. You know, even a family doctor. You starting a family, right? Like having a family doctor, having a therapist. You know, it's like small things that people don't even think about. But like if you're newly married, you're in the NFL, you probably need somebody to talk to. Yeah. You know, like straight up. You know, like so. It's so many different avenues. Even a lawyer. You know, someone who can do. You know, if you're like in a real estate, having a real estate lawyer, like. So what I'm saying is the variability is a wide range based off the individual athlete. But I say if you understand your weaknesses and like your loopholes and like, hey, I want to get into this area, but I don't know one in that area. Maybe you should find the best person in that area to help assist you. And because of our logo, because of our name, more than likely you can get to that person quicker than the average individual. You know, and it's not a you're better or you're this or you're that. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the way the dices are rolling, right? Like that's just the way it is. So.
Got you. And I want to talk about a little bit, so to take the conversation more so the business aspect and holistic aspect for you two. First, I want to talk about your interests or the different avenues you may kind of play around with in terms of tech, because I got a chance the first time saw you talk about like your interest and kind of investment in tech and the people in that space was at a Black Tech Saturdays event. And so I want to kind of know, like, what do you do in the tech space currently, or what are you interested in? What might be on the horizon that you all can kind of talk about, and how does that kind of play a factor into the essence of what's going on in Detroit right now in the tech space?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of mentioned earlier, right? Like we're past the .com. We're, you know, I would say at the pre-phase, but now we're like at least a third of the way through like the AI phase, right? In terms of rolling out. So for me, it's one of them things where it's like you see the inevitability. You know, you see like, you know, this technology is going to emerge. So it's one of them things where I'm always in the space of AI, you know, in the space of starting up using AI, how we can cut costs, right? How business can become more lean using AI to increase profit margins. So, you know, with that, you go over into like the fintech space, you know, something I'm really big into just because of generational wealth, you know, so I have some, it's funny when you start connecting these dots and you start promoting this, right? And you start having people hit you up. So I have some friends I know from college who are, really big in the fintech space, and they're like, yo, we got some over here too that's addressing generational wealth. So yeah, that's kind of my avenue for now. It's really just the fintech.
Dope.
Yeah, man. For me, it's all about educating myself and networking. You know what I mean? I was blessed to, get exposed to some of the best and the brightest in Silicon Valley. I was managing a Golden State Warriors player a little while ago, and so I met these people that were, providing resources for a lot of these startup founders and stuff like that. And even the team, the front office, people in the front office of the Warriors had a lot of different opportunities and stuff. And I was like, wow, I'm actually interested in that. So a lot of what I was doing, was evaluating like what's the biggest markets out there. It was venture capital and tech. You know what I mean? So, me being from Kansas City, I didn't have much exposure to that prior to my time out there. And so I've just been on a journey educating myself and connecting with the right people. Made a few small investments thus far. But right now, man, it's just all about educating myself and understanding what new ventures can be innovative and what, I guess, products or services need to be optimized with tech or AI integration. So that's what I'm focused on right now within the tech space.
Yeah, and I think it's huge in order to educate yourself on those things, because even if you're not going to be like the person who is in it each and every day. So my day job, I work in tech and in the AI space and stuff like that. So I'm in it every day, and I've always been a techie. But even if you're not necessarily in that space, you need to know how it's going to impact what it is that you do. And then especially people like us that look like us and getting exposed to that as well. So because I feel like tech is kind of like the opportunity to kind of what do you say? Not divider, but in order to lessen the education gap between us and some of the resources different communities might get and things like that. So definitely love to hear about how you all are investing in that space, whether it's in yourself or in also teaching and helping others learn as well. And I want to talk also about, like I had mentioned, holistically, and how you all kind of, what things you invest your time in outside of football, outside of sports, outside of, your day to day. I know y'all grounding, both of y'all, in terms of what it is that you do to make things happen for your lifestyle, for your families, all those type of things. But really curious as to what are the things that make y'all tick outside of work, and how do you kind of, build what makes you well-rounded in that aspect?
Man, I mean, for me, I just have to say, health and fitness. I think that, really understanding, a lot of the issues our community faces from a health perspective, dealing with different family issues. Even, as we get older, we start to deal with different things, so I'm very passionate about that space. But a lot of my passions end up in my work, so it's hard to really separate the two. Mm-hmm. But, just enhancing my family and my community's economic situation, whether that's through some of the opportunities that I'm exposed to in business management, or if it's just educating myself on some of the different funding outlets for different projects, or some of the projects that some of my peers have. Just learning, man. I feel like I'm in a season of my life at 30 years old to where education is big for me. It's not a ton of stuff that I really do outside of that. You know what I mean? Outside of fitness and spending time with people I love and care about. I'm huge on education right now, man, because I just feel like this is the period of our life where we have to set ourselves up for the rest of our life. Mm-hmm. And it's like when I align with people like Charles and like yourself, I mean, that's probably what you spend a lot of time on as well. You know what I mean? I do things like, like hoop or go to the movies and stuff like that. But a lot of my free time, I enjoy educating myself. So that's what makes me tick, I say.
That's dope.
Yeah, I mean, they say you are who you surround yourself with, right? So you just took everything I was about to say, literally. But no, I mean, on the same note, I love being a father, love being a husband. So I'm always at home with my babies. But beyond that, I'm on the same wave of always educating myself, always reading something. When I tell you, and this may or may not be a good thing, I'm not sure, but I have so many books,
me too,
a whole lot of books. Yeah. And some of them got dust on it, but that's okay. But they're there, you know what I mean? But I spend a lot of time trying my best to read. I know some people I look up to. They always say some people say 30 minutes, people say at least 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe 2 hours a day. I just got on audiobooks not too long ago, about a year ago. So that's helped me, process a lot of information a lot quicker. But yeah, I love to read, love to read books. And sometimes they're not about tech or not about football or nothing. There's some I just don't know anything about, right? Like right now I'm on Steve Jobs' autobiography, right, by Isaac Walton. So it's like I would have never knew the stuff about Apple that I knew now unless I discovered this book and started like going into it. So yeah, I spent a lot of time like trying to educate myself. Networking, that's something that I'm really diving more heavily into. Networking, understanding power of connections. You're only one call away from having a yes versus a no. Like understanding that. Besides that, I mean, the everyday job is every job. Just grinding, keep myself fit, staying in shape. But that's a part of me as a person. That's not so much because I do it, to prepare for something. That's just who I am. Like, I told my wife before, I'm like, I don't see myself ever not working out. And that's not, it's just so ingrained, right? Like a military person who does military, they train all their life, they're probably gonna go to the shooting range all the time. Like, It's just a part of the nature of who you are now.
Part of your fabric.
It's woven into you at that point. So, beyond that, I mean, other than being like a family man, educate myself, hobby wise, like I love acting, I really do. It's something I can see myself, taking up as a side hobby, for good. And besides that, martial arts. So.
And are you right now strictly interested in like the acting piece of it? What you want to produce? What you want to direct? Anything like that?
I love it behind the camera.
Okay.
The other side of the camera, I love too. Right, like before we set up, I was like, okay, I understand.
Yeah, you was like, "What, friend? I don't know
shots,
what you talking about. I just be turning the cameras on."
I did that earlier today at the news station, and he was like, I was like, "Hey, everybody." But yeah, no, I mean, and that's a part of that. It's an area in which I will never limit myself and say I'll never be on the other side because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I know this side. I love being behind the camera or in front of the camera at least. But I haven't been behind the camera. I haven't been. I think of movies all the time. I think of different like ideas and all that kind of stuff. So, putting a script into film, that's just something you have to learn. Just a learning curve. So I would never limit myself and say never. But for now, I love just being in front of the camera.
Now I got a critical question for both of y'all. So, do y'all watch Tubi?
Admittedly, not too much.
This is peak cinema. How y'all not watching Tubi?
I know.
That's a real Detroit thing.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. If you want to learn about the city, McGraw Ave. Watch start with McGraw Ave, and then you can kind of branch out. I call it the Detroit Cinematic Universe, the DCU, because it's all the same people, and they just changed the name, but they basically the same character in every other movie.
It's funny, man. So when I got here, one of the people that everybody was telling me I had to connect with was Rose Spit.
Yep.
I know he was telling me, I connected with him at this creative like ecosystem event down at Penn Lewis College.
Yep.
And he was telling me about the need for Charles to actually connect with all these different Tubi, I guess, directors and things like that and stuff like. And, he's in these movies as well.
Right.
So shout out to Ro, but yeah, man, I've heard about Tubi Mania in Detroit.
You gotta watch, man. You gotta see it with your own eyes. It's
check it out.
Pure cinema, peak cinema.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. What's your recommendation?
McGraw Ave. Start McGraw Ave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the best shows out during the pandemic. And then it came with a season 2 a couple years later.
But how does it compare to Netflix shows? Like, would McGraw
right, so
Ave
look,
be in the top 10?
I'm gonna put it to you like this. And I'm from Detroit saying this. Do y'all watch BMF or Stars or anything like that?
Yeah.
All right. So if McGraw Ave had BMF's budget, BMF would be on Tubi and McGraw Ave would be on Stars. Yes, or Premium TV.
So the storyline itself is just way better.
Yes, absolutely.
So shout out to that writer, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Definitely.
Yeah. What about how does it compare to Power?
It's not quite there. Okay. Yeah, it's not quite there. But like I said, you give them the same budget. You give them the same budget, it could be there.
Yeah, okay.
It could be there because Power damn near on like Game of Thrones level, like as far as the levels and the how deep the stories get. Yeah. So yeah, if you get them that money, they could make it happen for sure. Some talented people in the city, like we talked about.
Check out
shameless plug. I actually have deep in the archives. I got a little few concepts operating myself.
Okay.
That
talk
promote
about
yourself.
Yeah.
Talk
Shameless
about
plug. So maybe in the next couple years as we continue to build, maybe we'll see a few Dory G productions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Dory G.
For sure. Hey, you need a voiceover. You need somebody acting. I can make my debut. keep me in mind. I'm around.
I really don't know what I need. I just had ideas and I wrote them. You know what I mean? And I shared them with a select few people, and people really like what I wrote, like the concept. People really like it.
That's fire.
Like, that's so important.
That's fire.
That's a good fact. Like, man, it's life. We all get the same amount of time per day, at least we say. And you just mentioned something so important, like just writing it down.
Yeah.
Like, how many people think of stuff and just be like, oh, okay. And next day they forget about it, but they don't write it down. You know, like, I think that's very important, you know, to future athletes, people out there in the business space. Like, whatever you want to do, just write it down. The most memorable things in this life is written.
Facts.
You know, it's not on the computer. It's not on a USD card or the SIM card. It's written. So I think that's very important.
Too, you just got to know, you know, for me personally, it's like you got to know what you have access to. You know, being in the sports business, there's so many crossover opportunities, you know, when you think about sports and entertainment. And so I know some people in the TV and film industry. And so, you know, when I had this concept, I asked somebody to send me a reference, like a treatment reference. So I took a stab at creating a treatment. And so, you know, I have that in the archives, like I said. And so, you know, a lot of things that I do outside of my, you know, my main focus, you know, I'll ask for a reference. And then I'll take my stab at kind of, you know, making it as quality as that. You know, I ask, I get feedback and stuff like that. I don't just write it down and just like random, but I actually ask for like the industry standard structure or reference, and I'll try to mirror that. I'm interested to see what this look like now.
Oh yeah,
I get this. I mean, you got
definitely, you know, we can. I'm not ashamed about it at all. We can definitely look at it for sure.
I mean, you got your EP right here. He said he liked to be behind the camera, so
in front.
Yeah, y'all really like the perfect match.
Yeah, man. I love all things creative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've dabbled in photography, writing. You know what I'm saying? Actually just kind of started dabbling in brand identity. You know what I'm saying? So like I paid for a brand identity for my business. And then based on that, I was like, yo, I spent a lot of money on that. Let me see if I can do that for somebody that I care about. And I did, and she loved it. And so, you know, I don't know. It's just, you know, all things creative, man. I'm gonna give it a go. You know what I mean?
That's what's up.
So, yeah.
That's what's up. And being able to hear that both of y'all are like creatives in your own rights, like that's super dope. So yeah, I love to hear that. I deem myself a creative as well. So yeah, anything creative, I'm all for and all about. So I did a little bit. I did have one more football question for y'all because I thought about it on the way here, and I'm like, what's in the water over there in Missouri or at Mizzou? Because like just thinking about the defensive linemen that came up out of that school, like yourself included, Darius Robinson, who in the draft right now, Michael Sam years ago. Like what y'all got going on over there where y'all got these defensive linemen going crazy like that?
Nah, it was just a nature. It was not nature, but like a culture. It's really just a culture that was built. Like you said, it was established, you know, with a great group of guys, you know, and it's like any business, right? You get the principles down, you get the core values together, you know, get the leadership in place. It should turn into an assembly line. And I think that's what it did for that, you know, for a great time period and for years to come as well.
That's fire.
Yeah, I mean, even with that, man, like I feel like, you know, I gotta do these guys justice, you know. Shout out to Shane Ray, right?
Oh yeah, Shane Ray. Forgot about Shane Ray. Yeah.
Marcus Golden, you know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah.
You know, I don't.
Coney Healy. I mean, please go on.
You know, we don't want to miss guys. I'm sure it's guys that came before them, but like you know, around our time, man, it was just like, I mean, you gotta acknowledge those guys because they literally are, you know, the backs that Mizzou built on. You know what I mean? And you know, in addition to Charles and, you know, even some of the younger guys. So, you know, I had to give him a shout out.
For sure. And then basketball, I don't know all the hoopers, but I know Larry Hughes, Jason Tatum. Any other guys that might be mentioned?
They didn't go to Mizzou.
Yeah. I mean, they're not Mizzou. I'm sorry, just Missouri. Just from the state of Missouri.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, I gotta go Kansas City with it. I'm gonna go Marcus Denman.
Alex.
Yeah, Alec Burks.
Oh yeah, okay. I know Alec Burke was from there.
Shaq Harrison, Ishmael Wainwright.
Yep.
Who am I missing?
Christian
Brown, Denver NBA champion.
Okay.
Yeah, first round pick last year. You got Tyon Grant Foster coming out this year. 2 heart surgeries, but went crazy at Grand Canyon University this year.
Shout out.
First round talent. Man, it's
you got
Jacob
Porter,
Gilliard.
MPG.
Well, Michael Porter, he like grew up in Columbia. I think he's from but you know,
I mean, kind of sort of.
Come on to that side. Come on over to Kansas City.
It's a lot of basketball talent out of Kansas City, man. I hope and pray that I'm not missing nobody in the NBA. But yeah, anyway,
It's a lot of talent coming out of Missouri.
Even out of Missouri, it's some good guys like my guys, Techie Gill, Caesar, and Naaman Wright, and so many more. Man, it's some good guys. Man.
That's dope. And do y'all consider yourselves a part of the Midwest, right?
Oh yeah, we like the most
Midwest in the middle of the Midwest.
Missouri is, right in the middle.
For sure. There's a lot of talent in the Midwest. I mean, like people, you know, I always telling people as far as football goes, like we had a surge within the last decade, maybe a little bit more. My high school that I went to, I just saw something like within the last 10 years, we got the most draftees from Cass Tech. Yeah.
Why everybody go to Cass?
Man, that's how we roll in Detroit.
Cass or King.
Cass, King, or Renaissance.
So we did a community event. You know, he partnered up with Dr. Justin Camo, an orthodontist, to give a student at one of those schools a free smile, basically free braces.
Yep.
And so King is right by my crib.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually everybody told me to go to Cass Tech. And then somebody was like, man, Cass Tech get everything. Cass Tech or Renaissance. They was like, they get everything. They was like, King don't never get nothing. So I walked up to King, and then I went in there and I talked to King, and I was just like, man, we got y'all back.
That's what's up.
We're going to do something.
They needed that love.
Yeah, but y'all, you know, I don't know. I mean, one of y'all biggest players out of the D right now is from King, Sauce, right?
Sauce, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, shout out to King, but shout out to Cass, too.
Yep.
Yeah, Cass sound like our school, Lincoln Prep. It sounds simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We definitely got some ballers that came out of Cass. I mean, you talk about went to Michigan, Braylon Edwards, DPJ. Man, I'm forgetting names. DB. We got a couple of DBs. One in San Fran, one in Dallas. Jordan Lewis. Just all within the last like 10 years. I graduated in 2009, and then like after I had left and went to college, it was a factory.
Don't
it was a factory
got like
out there.
The most active NFL players in the league right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Crazy.
I think so. Yeah, we here.
You would think it would be like LA or somewhere in Florida or somewhere in Texas.
You would, yeah.
You know what I mean? But hey, shout out to Detroit for sure.
In Florida, I went to grad school in Miami at the U, so I spent some time down in South Florida. Football different down there. Like that's religion. Down in Florida. They don't play, and they really produce them. They really like that in Florida.
There must be some here too, though.
It is, because up here, basketball would typically be your thing because that's the weather permits. They can literally play football year round down in Florida, Texas, and California. So that's why you see a high rate of them coming out of there. But no, we got ballers. It's the grit. Yeah. It's the grit. That's why King always trying to beat the brakes off of Cass, because we literally rivals, like bitter rivals. And because Cass get a lot of resources and King don't, they're like, oh, it's up when we get on the football field. So they didn't had our number the last few years in the national championship. So it get real. It get real.
Yeah, no, I connected actually with my guy. I don't know if you heard of Horatio Williams.
Yeah, Horatio. He a legend in the city.
Yeah. So I connected with Ace, since I've been in here, and he tells me about all the athletes he had come up through his program and stuff like that, that's in the league and stuff like that. So. I was blessed to connect with a Detroit legend early. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, he tells me all about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a beautiful scene. I'm glad that you fellas have gotten a chance to be able to, make your journeys leaving KC and then be able to be planted here in Detroit now and be able to experience a lot of this resurgence like with us and then also be a part of it as well. Like I appreciate the fact that y'all are in the community and investing in the community and the things that's happening in and around the city. That definitely means a lot to somebody like me who a Detroiter, been here all my life, and then being able to kind of see the fruits of a lot of people who invest in people that look like me and see where how it's paying off now. So I think that's super dope that y'all are investing in Detroit for sure.
But one of the things that I learned early about Detroit, I was blessed to meet and connect with a lot of great people when I came. But everybody said the same thing. Like when you come to Detroit, don't try to step over the people that's from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like when we think about doing anything here, we never do it without the people or considering the people. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's one thing that I've done without somebody that's actually from here, in my short time here. And so, we respect that, we honor that, and we think it's amazing. He said he's met a bunch of great people, and he was like, it may be a bad apple here and there. I personally haven't met a bad apple. And I'm not saying that just for the camera or anything like that. But I really do value and appreciate the people and the character that they possess. here in Detroit. So
Yeah.
and I've had a great time.
I'm sure it's similar in KC. Like we real people in the Midwest. Like we actually, we real people in the Midwest. Like, you know, y'all been around like in Miami. Like I said, I lived there. Like everybody ain't friendly in Miami. I lived in Seattle. Everybody ain't friendly in Seattle. So like we actually, you know, if people gonna lock in with you, they legit and they mean it. So yeah, no, that's super dope. So fellas, before I get y'all up out of here, can you let us know if people want to follow the journey, if people want to tap in with y'all, any projects that may be out there, opportunities, anything like that, how can they tap in with you? How can they follow the journey? What's your socials, website, all that good stuff?
Man, so projects, Charles and I are both involved in a winter circle. So we have that coming up June 26th through June 30th in Kansas City. Stay tuned. You know, we have some big plans for Detroit in 2025. But social media, Dorian G on Instagram, DORYG, 3 E's. That's my social media. And then 2717.com is where you can tap in with us. The number 27, the word 17 spelled out.com.
Bet.
Same. Hey, you connect to him, connect to me, connect to me, connect to him. Like 2 birds, 1 stone. So yeah.
Sure.
Bet. Appreciate that. Well, fellas, this has been amazing to be able to learn more about the business that you all do, and then also the people that you are, the character that you have, and the dope things that you're either working on or are invested in, like I said, around the city. So I really appreciate you stopping by the podcast, especially during this time. Super busy, but like I said, a lot of great energy in the city, and I appreciate y'all contributing to that. So thank you.
No doubt. No, we got to be here. Thank you.
Appreciate it. I like to say, you know, for me, you know, I'm very aware of why I'm here. You know, without Charles pulling me along this journey and you know, all the hard work and all the things that he's been able to do, you know, to choose me to kind of be on this ride with him, you know what I'm saying? I value that and I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying?
It's recording still?
That's love. That's love.
But you know, I'm just real big on giving people their flowers and acknowledging people in spaces like this where it's cameras and stuff like that. You gotta let the world know, you know, why you here, and it's not because of you know, some of the things that I've done has contributed to it. But man, he made a decision to choose me, and that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean every relationship, right, takes 2 people. So on that same note, like I value you and I thank you for sticking with me through times in which I wasn't listening. You know what I mean? Like I'm being hard-headed. Like, yo, what do you mean it's social media? What you mean I gotta post pictures? Like what? You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know,
don't know about that 20-page book.
Right. Yeah.
Miami,
man, had a whole program like written out. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can tap in. You can, you know, I mean, I really appreciate you as well, and you know, I look forward to sharing our story more. Yeah. You know, globally, and man, so many people that will come after us. You know, who gonna look up to us, and you know, vice versa. We can depart our wisdom onto them. So the thing that we do, I think we both don't want is that we don't want other people to, you know, going through the things that we went through. You know, in terms of navigating cities, how do I go about this process? Like NFL, agent life, manager life. Like, what do I do? What is it? We're not the Mav Carter and LeBron. We idolize, we see it, we see how the blueprint is. We replicated it to a degree, but now we want to pass it on to someone else so they can be the next ones. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a learning process for us both. So I wouldn't want nobody else on this journey with me. So.
Appreciate that.
No doubt.
That's dope. See, black men, give each other y'all flowers, man. Don't be and do it on camera as well. Don't be afraid to tell your brother how much you appreciate and how much you love them. So I'm grateful that y'all were able to have that moment, and the appreciation for each other is real. And like I said, I appreciate y'all pulling up to the show once again. And everybody watching, we'll tap in with y'all soon. Peace.